a main topic that we hit on our podcast today is that idea of failing forward.
We call them cinematic video tours, where we walk through a house and tell a story about the house and get the buyer engaged in the home.
So tell me a little bit more about that. Like, how did you pivot? What made you pivot?
What's up, friends? Katie Day here with Johnny Steer and Tim Macy, the three hosts today of our Real Estate Video Blueprint podcast. I'm excited to welcome this week's guest, who is a three-time attendee of the Real Estate Video Blueprint, Cameron G. What's up? I actually don't know how to pronounce your last name. Geesaman?
Geesaman.
Geesaman?
Yeah.
Geesaman?
Yeah.
First,
I was right
first
the first
shot. Good
time.
job, Katie.
I shouldn't have told you guys I didn't know how to pronounce it. I should have just gone with my gut.
Yeah.
What's going on, Cameron? How are you today?
I'm doing good. My husband's grandmother actually told me after dating him for 3 years that I said our last name wrong. So,
how did you pronounce it?
Started right off with a good story, you know?
Yeah, it's great when his grandma's like, you need to learn how to say your last name if you're going to marry my grandson. I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe he'll take my last name.
Sounds like
that did not go well.
That just sounds like, what we do in all this stuff, which is we fail forward, which I think is going to be probably, a main topic that we hit on our podcast today is that idea of failing forward.
Yeah. Yes. I reached out to you after you had posted in one of our Facebook groups about your success and kind of journey in YouTube and what that looks like for you. And basically, started in 2020, did stuff, then tried to do Brad McCallum stuff. That didn't work out so well. And then, moved into a new style of YouTube. So tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. Well, first off, nobody can be Brad because Brad is Brad.
The hair, the whole package.
The hair. I do try Adam. So my husband is our videographer. And so he a lot of times is like, I need you to be more Brad, or i.e., I need you to be more excited about what you're doing, because it is the thing that he says is very much true, where you need to be more expressive. And I'm expressive, but you put that camera in front of me and then I have to thinking and being expressive is hard.
It's tough for sure.
It is. So in 2020, pandemic, right? We decided that we were on social media essentially, right? We were seeing all these agents across the country that were doing these things. And if you don't know, I'm in Indiana, and it is true that Indiana is behind the times. Like they say, we're 7 years behind. Social media has helped, so we're not as much behind, but we for sure are behind. And so I had this idea that we would do this Facebook live series called Get to Know Your Neighbor. And I would interview local residents and business owners, and just to kind of get the word out about Fishers, Indiana, and that people were still open, and interview them. And just, I had no clue what I was doing, literally no clue. But it was fun. I apparently was decent at it, even though nobody watched it. So I was decent for like my friends and family. And then Adam in the background, right, videographer, is like, this video looks like crap. And so then he started trying to figure out why does it look so bad? And then I found Brad, and I was like, well, this is really cool. He's doing video tours of houses. What is this? I'd never really seen it. I had kind of seen, like you see HGTV, right? And so I thought, oh, well, they're doing it on a more local level. Let's try that. So we tried. I can't say we failed at it, but because we still technically do, like, we call them cinematic video tours, where we walk through a house and tell a story about the house and get the buyer engaged in the home, right? But having a channel that is only home tours in Indiana, it was really hard. Like nobody wanted to watch us.
It helped, the homes that Brad is touring are absolutely stunning. So yeah, I could see that.
Stunning. I was calling agents. Nobody wanted to let us tour the houses. I was calling builders, and builders were still kind of like, what is that? Why? And so the journey that I kind of put in the YouTube group was, we did the interview thing. Then we tried the home tours. And again, not that we still don't do them, but it wasn't going to produce a big channel. And so Brad said that he was going to REVB. And I was like, what's this? Who are these people? I don't know who they are, but I'm gonna go. Let's figure this out. So I go, and I have to admit, when I went, I thought anybody who said that they were doing anything on YouTube, well, I thought they were crazy, because I was like, how is YouTube going to generate any business? Like, it's YouTube, which now I laugh at people when they're like, that's where you learn how to do things and fix things. And I'm like, well, yes, and cool houses, and you learn about the area. Anyways, so I went to REVB, had no clue who you two were. I was only there for Brad.
All right, we can just end the podcast now. That's fine.
Let's make sure this doesn't get out.
Yeah,
let's keep this between us.
Yeah.
But I like this story. Come on, keep.
Yeah. Okay. So I go to REVB. It's the first year, which again, I didn't know. I literally, and I've told Brad this, like, I went for him. I didn't know that this was the first year. I didn't know. I knew nothing. I just knew I had been to 800 real estate conferences, and all of them, all other conferences. And not that I don't learn anything, but I've been a real estate since 2004, or realtor since 2004. And I learned some things, but a lot I already knew. And so this was like just video. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. It's just video. And sure as hell, it was video, and it blew my mind. And I had no clue that all these people across the country were doing all of these things. I didn't really understand it. And I have to admit, the first time I walked away, I was like, I still don't, I have no clue what I'm doing. So I came home. My husband had actually hurt his back. He was supposed to go with me to the first one, hurt his back, couldn't go. So I went by myself, met some amazing real estate agents like Paul Wolfer and Bill Olson. And I mean,
we definitely have to scrap this. If you're saying that Bill Olson's amazing, yeah.
I will give him credit because he answers my phone calls, which is great. But I did, and I found myself.
You've only called me like once, and I think I picked up. But just saying.
And I do love that. One of the pieces at the event, and not to turn this podcast into an event plug, but I do think most of the people that go on this content creation journey, the community that you do it with is important. Like, most people that find success don't find it on their own. And so showing up to that event, making those connections, I'm sure, has had some impact on what you've done afterwards.
I think it is the reason why I am where I am at this point in time, honestly. Okay, so I met Bill. Bill knew you, right? It's Bern McGovern that actually I connected with. He and I just laughed our asses off. And I found myself at 2 a.m. at some hookah bar in downtown Houston with like 8 guys and myself. And I was like, what the hell is going on? But those guys are the guys that honestly I keep in contact with. And they're the ones that kept saying, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Don't give up. Like, it will come. And I'm looking at them going, but it's not. Nothing is happening. I'm making these videos. I gave up twice. So we did the interviews. I quit. We started the Brad style. We quit. I then started the green, like the talking head green screen, whatever you want to call them. And Bern kept saying, you just keep doing them. Bill kept saying, just keep doing the videos. And so we finally started to do them consistently. So we finally, I don't know what the transition was, but finally we started posting them every Thursday. And from that point on, that's when our numbers started to go like this. It was the consistency, even though I thought we were consistent in some sort of way, right? We would post 2 to 3 times a month, but they weren't the same time every Thursday. There wasn't the consistency. And everybody kept saying, also look at what you're posting, analyze it, and then shift it. And we would always, Adam and I would sit in our office and just say, but I can't get any data. I don't know what that means. And I think ultimately, I'm here to tell all the agents, you just have to post a shit ton of videos. And then all of a sudden the analytics will start coming and you'll start figuring it out. It's just, you don't have it until you've posted 52 videos or whatever, right?
And Cameron, the reason I love your story is that so many agents post videos, they make videos, they try a strategy, it doesn't work, and they say, hey, this doesn't work. But your ability to keep pivoting and keep pivoting and keep pivoting until you found what works for you. And I know it probably seems like a failure, right? Like I did this and it didn't work. I did this and it didn't work. But that's been most people's journey. You know, the first thing they tried didn't work. And so tell me a little bit more about that. Like, how did you pivot? What made you pivot? And what, like, tactically, what do you think you're doing differently now? If you were going to kind of give anybody a little cheat code to like skip a couple steps, like, what do you think you're doing now that's working that you weren't doing before?
Well, clearly the posting every single week, right? I think that is integral. I think analyzing, and I know this seems cliche because I feel like every real estate agent that is in YouTube that I talked to told me the same thing, and I didn't really understand what they were saying. But not even just researching your own videos, but researching and looking at what other people want, which again, I used to say to Bill, but I don't know what they want, Bill. I can't tell. And so I think that at least now, right? Like for instance, this last week, I don't know how this video will hit. So if it hits horribly, then just disregard everything that I say. But if it hits well, then I figured it out. I haven't, you guys. Anyways, the fires are happening in California, right? And that is something that happens all the time. When we have clients that come to Indiana, I would say every single one, I don't know if I've had a single client that has come from YouTube that hasn't asked me a question about weather, right? And I talk about weather on our channel a lot because people think that that makes a huge difference on if they're going to purchase here, which I always think is hilarious because I think there are a lot of factors, but weather is something that's really important. And because of all the fires that are going on, we had a different video planned for this week, but we completely shifted and we're like, hey, let's try to grab on to this news thing that is happening, right? Because we have a lot of people moving from California. Actually, I think every state in the United States has people coming from California to their state because everybody's fleeing California. Anyways.
Yeah.
So we just leaned into that in the sense of, okay, let's talk about what the differences are from a national or a natural disaster mentality, right? Because that's a natural disaster. What is the percentage of natural disasters from one area to the other? And then, so that's maybe one of the things that I'm doing is kind of look at what is media talking about, either Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, if it's here, any of the others, right? Like what's going on to try to speak to what is current, if that makes sense. Because I think people click on current.
Yeah. And right? I think we got to think about what is relevant to people. I mean, if people listen to this podcast, they're probably tired of me saying it, but sometimes we make the content we want people to be interested in and not the content that they're actually interested in. Right. And really hammering in on it, it's like, you know, my daughter, we feed her every day. And so if you go to a restaurant and you look at the menu, I can look at that menu and say, okay, she would like this or this. So it's like, what do you want? The chicken tenders or the mac and cheese? I know my audience. I know what she wants. And I think what you're talking about, posting all this stuff and doing all this stuff, you're getting a far better idea of what your audience wants. And when you look at that menu, you know what they're going to eat. And I think that's the difference.
I think that's the difference, but I think I didn't realize that at the beginning. And I think you have to post enough videos, even if they're shit videos. Like, that's the thing. Like, even if they're not good videos. So this is what's funny. We have 2 videos. One video, which, here's the thing. Let's be honest. It's clickbait. It's don't move to Indiana. Like it, and a ton of the comments are Indiana sucks, which, okay, it sucks for you, whatever. But it is a clickbait video to get people to click on it as to why Indiana sucks, essentially.
Yeah.
But in the video, I don't actually say Indiana sucks. Okay. That has like 30 or 40,000 views on it. 30,000. I'm looking at Adam. Sorry, 70 something.
Yeah.
70,000 views.
70,000. Oh,
right,
man.
Whatever. Which is great for us. I'll take that. Anyways, then I have this other video where we read the reviews of niche.com's like comment section, and I respond to people's like 1-star to 5-star reviews, right? If you watch those 2 videos, personally, in my eyes, the reviews is hilarious because I'm honest and upfront, but it has almost no views on it. But yet the don't move to Indiana, which isn't even about not moving to Indiana, has a ton. And so we've had to kind of learn how to do our thumbnails and what words to use. And I really struggle with clickbaity stuff because I feel like I don't like it.
Okay. I don't think that I don't like the term clickbait. If you have a video that's like reasons why Indiana is going to explode, and then they click on the video and it's you talking about how great Indiana is, like, that is clickbait. You baited me into clicking on some piece of content that wasn't what you promised me. Right. Like, I think we make click worthy content, and we have to think about being in the feed and the fact that we have to have something that is worthy of somebody clicking on. And as long as your content delivers on the promise of the thumbnail and the title, I don't really think it's clickbait. I think it's clickbait when if somebody clicks on it and they watch your video and they're let down because whatever your thumbnail and title was didn't match what the video was.
Okay, so now I have to change my verbiage. Thanks.
Come on, you know the words that we speak are powerful and all that fun stuff.
No, it's true. And I think that's I guess when you ask me the question of like, what are we doing differently? I guess what I would say is to anybody that either has already given up or wants to give up or wants to keep trying or whatever it is starting new or has done it for 3 years like we had. I mean, we had been doing it for 3 years and we're just frustrated, right? It really is true. You just need to put out the content because as you go, you start to kind of learn the algorithm, learn what your people want, learn and kind of go from there. And everybody's a little bit different. Like I was listening to Christina Smallhorn. Sorry, I'm going to call her out right now. She did a video, which a lot of people will watch her videos to kind of learn, right? Which is great. We've learned a lot from her. But she would say that a channel can't be good if you have video tours and talking heads. There's no like stream, like it can't be one, or from her perspective, it has to be one. You can't have it be all the things. And I don't know if that's because she wants something to be viral. I've always said I'd rather have a smaller channel and not go viral per se, and have multiple things in our channel. And some could say, well, I'm doing it wrong. Well, but I closed almost 4 million last year just from YouTube clients. And so for me, clearly somebody is coming to our channel and watching it and calling us, right? And so it's interesting because every person is going to give their perspective. And I just on the reason I did that post was to pretty much tell somebody, first off, don't give up. And two, every channel is going to be different. Your channel is going to be as big as you want it to be, or as small as you want it to be, as successful as you want it to be, or not. Right. And so this year we're adding lives as an option to grab local. Right. And we're going to see how that goes. It might work. It might not work. But I think the more you try and the more you adjust, the better you're going to be, and you'll find your people.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that the niching down is important, right? And so I think that what happens and why Christina and many others coach on that is because people often will post way too many things and they don't find their audience. And so by you posting the talking head content you said Thursday, you found your audience, right? And so now you can branch out a little bit more. And so a good example of that is Brad, right? All he was doing was Calgary homes. And then once he had his audience, now he can do a home in another province or city, or, in the States or something like that. And people watch it, right? Like he did his own home. He did a home that they stayed in, an Airbnb in France, things like that, that like people stay and watch because now they're hooked in and they're a fan, right? And so I think in the beginning, too many people do all the things, but then once you kind of have a cult following, that's there for your show, you can play around with it a little bit.
I can't say I have a cult following, but
without having Christina's take on it, I believe, because this is a conversation that comes up a lot. I think the idea on not having listing videos where you have your informational videos is that when you're trying to build an audience and you're just getting obsessed with that audience that you're building, it's like the audience that is here to watch your listing videos on their couch, which is a great audience. Like if you can build that, tends to be a different audience than the one that is going to watch your informational stuff. And so for those of you who are listening to this, one, Cameron brings up a great point, which is everything has some point to it, but none of it is like the law. You know what I mean? None of it is set in stone. Like there are people that have successful channels going different directions. But the thing that comes from is kind of like what we were talking about before, is that you want your channel to have a direction. And a lot of times, mine included, this was my biggest thing when I made my YouTube channel. The reason why it didn't go well is because I didn't have a clear direction. Like I didn't have a clear audience. I had my family stuff up there. I had some real estate stuff up there. I had a listing video. I had an informational video. Like it was all over the place. And so I didn't have a clear audience. And so I think that idea of sticking to one format of video comes from the idea that you're going after one particular audience. But I do think you can make listing videos and you can make informational videos, but be mindful about the fact that you want to direct it at one particular audience.
Right.
I've seen some good ones lately that are coming out, like Shannon Gillette does them, but where it's like talking about the town or talking about the neighborhood and why the neighborhood is great, and then doing the home and then going back out into the neighborhood. And so those are ones where I think that like it aligns a little bit more. But if you're just like, this is 123 Main Street, like not as much in alignment.
And that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's essentially what we do. Shannon Gillette is one of the ones that we saw that she was doing on Instagram and posting, where she would start out front and then she would do a tour. And right about the time that we started to shift, she was shifting as well, which was really cool to watch, of doing essentially a city video, right? Where we're talking about where the house is in location to the shopping and dining and entertainment and all that, to kind of meld into the talking head / here is a cool home, because I think people want to see what there is in the area that they're looking. And so that's essentially what we do, is a kind of, I don't want to say it's a Shannon Gillette video. It's a Cameron Geesaman video.
That's right. So no, I love that. I think I just love, like, the whole reason why I love your story is that it's you finding your way, right? Like the different things that you've tried, you're listening to people, you're taking in the information, and then you're trying it. And the biggest part in this content stuff is being able to take what's for you and leave the other things, because we do. Like it is the challenge and the success of REVB is we try to give people as many different ways of generating business with video content. But on the same hand, we have to know that if we present 20 different strategies to generate business with video content, like you got to pick 2 of them, right? Like you can't do all of them, and you may have to mess up 5 of them and find out that the 6th one is the one to go that actually works for you. But it's that journey. I think people just want the push button solution. Oh, tell me exactly how to do this. Let me push a button and let it happen. But that doesn't actually work. And so, yeah, I love your journey around it.
Well, and that's essentially, I mean, I went to REVB the first year, right? We had all these examples. I didn't know what I was doing. Yes, I played around with it. Then I was able to go the second year, right? And meet different people and different strategies, which then spearheaded then going into that third year, right? Of really learning and focusing. So I mean, I love REVB. I think that I have been the only Indiana person there for a lot of years. And now this year, apparently everybody figured it out because I kept talking about it, which part of me is like, damn it. Because now there's like, I think we're probably going to have close to 20 people that are from Indiana, not from me, but like mentioning it to different people. And then those different people mentioning it to other people. And so I'm like, now I'm not going to be the cool only Indiana gal.
You're the cool 4th time comer.
A true veteran of REVB.
Oh my gosh. But I'm glad that I went that first year, even though it was completely overwhelming. And I've even told people that are planning on, I can't not use that word. It's really hard.
Attending.
I guess the other word is so much more fun. Okay. Attending the conference, right? This year. Way to switch it up on us to go to a different city. Anyways, so which I might have been the person who was like, please put it somewhere else. And you kept it in Texas. Anyways, I digress. I have mentioned to them, when you go that first time, it's going to be overwhelming because there is so much that everybody's got their own opinions, but just start somewhere and don't give up.
All right. Last question for you, Cameron.
Oh,
I love hearing about your journey. What's next? Like, what are you working on now? What do you feel like you're pivoting and trying to improve on your content marketing in the moment?
This is why I said before we jumped on, like, I feel like there's so much that I want to do, and it's trying to prioritize what that is this year. So we talked about adding lives all last year. Just couldn't get it in the flow. So the goal this year, that's one of our things, is to put that in the flow. And then to get better at another platform. So I've always been on Instagram. I know that Instagram can produce business. And actually a lot of our clients that are on YouTube end up going to our YouTube and then messaging us. So it's kind of a secondary, which is really good. And so I'm going to try, I shouldn't say try. I'm going to get better at Instagram. There's just so much.
I love that. No, I mean, I think, but I do love that you're taking on Instagram after you've gotten traction on YouTube, because I do think that people go to REVB, they leave, and they want to do everything. When they do everything, they tend not to get traction on anything. And so you kind of figured out the YouTube game, and that puts you in a better place to try to go figure out the Instagram game. So I love that.
I agree with a lot of the content creators that you've had on here that have also mentioned. I think YouTube is, if I were to go back and do it all over again, now I know I stayed with YouTube, but I would start with YouTube to begin with. I think YouTube is a beast. And I think if you can get good at YouTube, then I think you can accomplish any of the other platforms succinctly, right?
Yeah, and I think the reason why I think YouTube is so powerful is like, I'm sitting in our office and I have agents come in all the time and they're like, can you give me leads? like Zillow leads, online leads, like who has leads. And when you think about leads, it's, hey, I'm out of people that I know. I need people that I don't know who want to buy a house to hit me up. And there's not really a better platform to build something that creates that for you than YouTube. I will I've been a little bit of a fan of the TikTok algorithm as far as like growing an audience of people who don't know you, will randomly DM you. But when it comes to like generating leads of people who don't know who you are and you never met before and are just hitting you up, like YouTube is tough to beat.
I am gonna say though that although I don't disagree with you, I think TikTok is a great place. I've introduced you to Summer Hudson, who has exploded. She sold over 100 homes through TikTok leads last year, like blew up on TikTok. The hard part, or at least here in Indiana, I think every place is going to be a little bit different. When you're in high school and you're trying to find a job and you're trying to figure out which is the place that there's going to be more jobs available, right? I'm going through this with my son, so this is the analogy that I'm using. I know you guys have little kids, but you're going to get there. Anyways, and you try to find where, when you go out into the job force, there's more opportunities. I think the reason why YouTube does so well is because most people won't do YouTube because it is overwhelming and challenging. I will tell you, there's hundreds of agents that are doing Instagram and a ton of agents doing TikTok. And so with YouTube, at least in my marketplace, there's just a few agents and most of them give up. And so there's huge opportunity. So I think from a person starting out and saying, I need leads, I'm not saying Instagram or TikTok or Facebook aren't good platforms. I just think YouTube, because there's not as many, you have more opportunity to potentially grab more people. And I think that it is an underrated. Everybody wants to say YouTube's not social media. And I just want to sit here and be like, but it's actually probably one of the biggest social medias because it is searchable more.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that that's where I try to tell agents, if you can figure it out, then Instagram and Facebook and TikTok could potentially be maybe a little bit easier. I say that, and then yet here I am trying to figure out Instagram.
Of course. So Cameron, where's the best place for people to find you if they wanted to connect with you?
Instagram.
That's right. Go follow the building of the Instagram journey.
Cameron the Realtor. I tell people to go watch my YouTube, but please don't subscribe.
Yeah, don't mess up her YouTube algorithm.
I know, isn't that bad? Please don't subscribe, because then you're going to screw up my algorithm, and you're not buying a house here. So unless you're moving to Indiana, then you can subscribe. But yeah, Cameron the Realtor on Instagram is probably the easiest to kind of see, and hopefully I'll post more.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time. And we're going to see you again at REVB this year.
I'll be attending.
All right. We'll see you then.
All right, guys.